The galaxy called her species monsters long before they vanished. On worlds where weaker civilizations evolved beneath gentle skies and predictable seasons, her people had crawled their way out of storms strong enough to tear mountains apart. Their homeworld had gravity so crushing that even standing demanded strength most species could never imagine. Oceans boiled with predators. Forests hunted back. Survival was not taught there. Survival was violence. And violence had shaped her into something the galaxy feared. She stood nearly a head taller than most aliens, her body dense with muscle built for a world that refused mercy. Dock workers avoided eye contact. Merchants lowered their voices when she passed. Security officers watched her movements like she was one long breath away from tearing through steel walls. Nobody trusted Deathworlders. Not that it mattered anymore. Because according to every surviving galactic archive, there were none left. Her species had died years ago when their home system vanished in a catastrophe nobody fully explained. Official reports blamed unstable stellar collapse. Unofficial whispers said something else. But whispers never became evidence. That left only her. The last survivor. The last monster. She had stopped correcting people years ago. Remote cargo stations paid well for dangerous work nobody else wanted, so she drifted from system to system taking security contracts, escorting freight through pirate territory, handling problems too violent for softer species. It kept food in her quarters and questions away from her past. But isolation carried a price. The silence after each job felt heavier than combat ever did. In crowded stations packed with thousands of beings, loneliness somehow felt louder. She watched families gather around market tables, crews laugh over meals, strangers build lives together. Nobody invited her. Nobody stayed close long enough. Fear built invisible walls faster than steel. To them, she wasn't someone trying to survive loss. She was a predator pretending to behave. Still, late at night she searched. Hidden archives. Deleted records. Forgotten civilizations buried beneath classified files. Anywhere there might be proof that Deathworld species had once existed beyond her people. Sometimes she found fragments. Ancient references wiped halfway clean. Mentions of extinct races from hostile planets. Military reports blacked out by governments. Entire species erased so thoroughly they barely felt real. Something about it never made sense. The galaxy claimed harsh worlds almost never produced intelligent life. Yet, every time she dug deep enough, another censored file surfaced. As if someone had buried the truth. As if Deathworlders had existed once. And disappeared. She wanted to believe she wasn't alone. Needed to. Because believing otherwise meant accepting a future where the last voice of her species vanished with her. No legacy. No memory. Nothing. Just another monster finally gone. The station alarm shattered the silence. A violent pulse echoed through the cargo deck. Emergency lights flashed crimson overhead. Dock-wide announcement systems erupted into static. Security breach detected. Unauthorized boarding in progress. Pirates. Again. Panicked footsteps thundered through the corridor outside her quarters. Civilians scrambled for shelter. Traders slammed blast doors shut. She rose without hesitation. Danger was simpler than loneliness. Strapping on combat gear, she stepped into the chaos expecting frightened workers, screaming merchants, maybe desperate guards trying not to die. Instead, through the station viewport overlooking Dock 7, she saw someone impossible. The pirate breach should have been routine. Fast violence. Screaming civilians. Poorly trained station guards trying not to panic. Instead, Dock 7 looked like chaos given physical form. Smoke poured from ruptured maintenance panels. Emergency bulkheads had sealed halfway shut, trapping terrified merchants between cargo containers. Blaster fire flashed across the docking lane as armed raiders stormed inward, shouting demands. Then the explosion came. A pirate explosive tore through part of the outer hull. Metal screamed. The entire dock shuddered. Atmosphere violently ripped toward open space. Crates, bodies, tools, everything not bolted down got dragged toward the breach. Her instincts kicked in instantly. Massive hands locked around reinforced railings as gravity fought vacuum. That was when she saw him. A strange alien in dark work clothes. Smaller than her. Softer. No armor. No visible weapons. And completely exposed to vacuum. The decompression ripped him straight off his feet and slammed him against a cargo loader before dragging him toward open space. No species survived that. Not unprotected. Not for more than a second. She watched his body vanish through swirling debris. Dead. Had to be. Then a bloodied hand grabbed the edge of the ruptured hull. He pulled himself back inside. Slowly. Coughing. Bleeding. Very much alive. The stranger collapsed onto solid flooring, sucking air into his lungs before groaning like someone mildly inconvenienced. Yeah, he muttered between coughs. That sucked. She stared. No panic. No terror. No visible signs of shock. Just irritation. Before she could process what she was seeing, 3 pirates rushed him. The alien grabbed the nearest object he could find, a detached metal pipe. Crack. 1 pirate dropped instantly. The second raised a blaster. The stranger hurled a toolbox into his face. The shot missed. He closed distance absurdly fast, slammed the pipe into the pirate's wrist, stole the weapon, then used an exposed electrical cable to overload nearby machinery. Sparks exploded. The 3rd pirate screamed as cargo equipment collapsed onto him. The entire fight lasted seconds. He leaned against a damaged crate, breathing hard. Then casually wiped blood from his nose. Man, he muttered. Cargo stations keep getting worse. She had fought mercenaries, raiders, military hunters. Nobody moved like that. Improvised. Messy. Efficient. Terrifying. And somehow completely reckless. Even stranger. The remaining pirates stopped advancing. They hesitated. Afraid. Of him. The alien finally looked up. His eyes landed on her. No fear. No hesitation. Instead, something closer to recognition crossed his face. He tilted his head slightly. Well, he said, sounding almost amused. Didn't think I'd find another Deathworld face all the way out here. Her entire body froze. Nobody used that word anymore. Nobody knew what she was. Before she could speak, he winced, adjusted his bruised shoulder, and added something impossible. Thought your kind went extinct. He paused. Same way they told us humans did. The word human meant nothing to her. No records. No species file. No government classification. Nothing. Yet somehow, this strange soft-skinned survivor spoke about extinction the same way she had lived it. The pirate attack ended fast after station security finally regained control, but neither of them left. She found him in an abandoned repair corridor, wrapping his bruised ribs with practiced indifference like nearly dying was routine. You survived vacuum exposure, she finally said. He shrugged. Technically partial vacuum. He tightened the bandage and winced. Humans are stubborn. Biology hates giving up. That answer explained absolutely nothing. He introduced himself simply, a smuggler, trader when necessary, scavenger when broke. Human. Apparently from somewhere called Earth. The name meant nothing either. When she admitted she had never heard of humanity, he laughed once. Yeah, he said. That part was intentional. Over stolen station coffee and flickering emergency lights, the impossible truth slowly unfolded. Humans weren't extinct. Hidden. Centuries earlier, humanity had reached the stars too fast, fought too hard, survived things they weren't supposed to survive. Wars against larger empires. Economic collapses. Bioweapons. Colony disasters. Every prediction said humans should disappear. Instead, they adapted. Every single time. That frightened the galaxy. Not because humans were strongest. Because they were unpredictable. Cornered humans fought harder. Broken humans rebuilt faster. Threatened humans ignored logic and survived out of spite. So the major powers made a decision. Earth was quarantined. Human movement erased. Historical records rewritten. Officially, humanity no longer existed. She listened in silence. The story sounded insane, yet somehow familiar. Governments hiding dangerous truths. Species disappearing from archives. History rewritten. For the first time in years, someone understood what isolation felt like. He didn't stare at her like a monster. Didn't fear her size. Didn't treat her strength like a threat. If anything, he looked tired in the same way she felt. Like survival had become exhausting. Eventually he asked the question nobody ever had. You ever wonder why every Deathworld species somehow vanished? Her expression hardened. Every archive says they died out? Yeah, he replied quietly. That's what ours said too. He pulled a stolen station data drive from his jacket. While station security was busy, he said casually, I borrowed some classified files. She should have been disturbed by how casually he admitted theft. Instead, curiosity won. Together, they searched through restricted records hidden beneath military encryption. Deleted settlements. Missing populations. Destroyed colonies. Censored investigations. Then they found it. A sealed report marked forbidden access. Not random extinctions. Not accidents. A coordinated operation. High-risk species from hostile worlds had been systematically removed. Controlled. Erased. Deathworld civilizations weren't failing. Someone had hunted them. Her pulse slowed. Then sharpened. Because buried deep inside one classified report was her homeworld. Destroyed intentionally. She stared at the report until the words stopped feeling real. Strategic threat elimination. Population containment. Planetary sterilization. Cold phrases written by people who had never seen the worlds they erased. Her species had not died in some cosmic disaster. They had been judged dangerous. Then exterminated. The humans stayed quiet, letting the truth settle. No forced sympathy. No empty comfort. Just understanding. Because someone had tried to erase his species too. Then the station lights died. Every screen around them flickered black. A second later, emergency systems triggered. Unauthorized military access detected. The human sighed. That, he muttered, standing up carefully, is usually the part where somebody important tries to kill witnesses. Heavy impacts echoed through the station. Not pirates. Professional. Precision movement. No panic. The classified files had triggered attention. Someone knew they had seen too much. She rose instantly, old instincts returning like they never left. We fight? The human gave her an almost offended look. Obviously. Armed operatives moved through corridors sealing exits, jamming communications, eliminating cameras. Quiet professionals sent to erase problems. The first squad never expected resistance. She hit like a collapsing building. Fast. Violent. Unstoppable. Years of surviving a Deathworld turned movement into instinct. Armor cracked under her strength. Weapons bent. Bodies dropped. But what unsettled her most was the human. He fought wrong. No elegant military discipline. No predictable tactics. Improvised chaos. He weaponized the environment itself. Triggered maintenance drones as distractions. Overloaded power conduits. Turned sealed doors into traps. At one point, he disappeared entirely, only to reappear behind enemies carrying stolen explosives and muttering something about creative problem solving. He looked reckless. Messy. Completely unorganized. Yet somehow terrifyingly effective. Outnumbered enemies kept advancing. The human only grinned. Then activated something on his wrist. A transmission signal. You called for help? She asked. Emergency favor, he replied. Humans are annoyingly loyal. Minutes later, unidentified ships tore out of hyperspace near the station. Unregistered. Weaponized. Aggressively fast. The station network exploded with panic. Unknown hostile fleet detected. Her breath caught. Humans. Dozens of them. The boarding response was immediate. No formation. No hesitation. Just terrifying momentum. Humans fought like survival itself offended them. They ignored injuries. Adapted instantly. Protected civilians while dismantling enemy forces with relentless determination. And suddenly she understood. Humans were not terrifying because they were strongest. Her species was stronger. Faster. Deadlier. Humans were terrifying because quitting simply never seemed to occur to them. Even cornered. They kept coming. The fighting ended faster than it began. The surviving operatives retreated. For the first time in years, silence didn't feel empty. The human leaned against damaged steel, bruised, exhausted, somehow still joking. You okay? She looked at him for a long moment. At the impossible truth standing in front of her. Someone dangerous. Someone feared. Someone alone. Someone who understood. For years she had believed she was the last Deathworlder alive. She had been wrong. And somewhere far beyond the stars, the people who erased dangerous species were about to learn the worst possible mistake they had ever made. Humans had found another survivor.